Hello from Budapest, Hungary. I have just finished an all-day series of conferences on the political situation here in Hungary. We heard from people who live here, who have moved here from failing Western European nations such as Germany and Sweden. And it gives me a great deal of hope for the future of our remaining Western countries who have not yet found themselves in the precarious position of many of the Western countries in Europe who are no longer recognizable in any way, shape, or form. So I'm just going to sum up with a few little points. This is a hopeful video, so pay attention. There is an increasing immigration to Hungary from Western countries such as Sweden and Germany. The people who live there and are proud Swedes and Germans are recognizing that the writing is on the wall and that their economies will likely collapse in the coming decade due to their overstressed social net, which provides mostly for incoming irregular, let's call them, to use Justin Trudeau's favorite word, migrants, coming to Hungary, where Viktor Orban, the leader, has said no more immigration, and he's actually put up a wall. The economy has improved. Middle class is on the rise, feeling very content because they can actually afford things that they could not in the past. Here's an example of a leader who is not Donald Trump, but he's not afraid to take a stand. And his attitude is, and I'm not speaking from my own experience, but rather from what I heard from our speakers today, that he has objectives. One of which is, I think, the crux of the problem in the West is the willingness to identify that there is a problem and to name it, such as, let us say, Islamism and its invasion of what the West and the effect that that is having on our culture. And second, to actually find a solution to that problem. So in his case, building the wall, restricting immigration, and along with many other things. The reaction of the populace, they love it. They keep voting him in. Now, without going into any historical breakdown of Hungary's role in the war and then their years following the war of communist rule, since the late 80s, they've been a thriving democracy, and you can see and feel in the air the way the people live here and how different it is from many other of these Western European countries that are fast being overtaken by the Muslim migrant population coming in. What's interesting to note is the media party absolutely hates the Viktor Orban government. It's the opposite of what we have in Canada at the moment, where Trudeau's got his little minions who are fast, I think, becoming skeptical of what he has been promising and then what he's actually delivered over his mandate. But they do the same things that the anti-Trump media are doing. They are very pro-EU, and apparently there's an election Sunday, so in one day, for members of each of the EU countries to elect somebody to represent them on the EU at the EU table. And most of the EU countries are not happy with Hungary, and that's not surprising. So they attack with their fake news. That's their default modus operandi, and they provide the listeners with this vague innuendo of lies in an attempt to break down the pushback that they're getting from the country and the people that live in it. And of course, the very famous George Soros hails from Hungary. He is not well loved by the people who live here in Hungary. And what they're trying to do on the left here is to equate any criticism of Soros with an anti-Semitic libel. So if you criticize Soros, you must hate Jews, because Soros apparently is Jewish, although one of the speakers today said she had her doubts. The failing nations of Europe that are losing their citizens, it's a slow drip now, but it's, according to one of the speakers from Sweden who's moved here, it's fast increasing. These failing nations no longer resemble their former years of glory, and the population is fleeing while it still can. It's quite reminiscent, actually, of pre-World War II Germany. They dubbed the Western European countries now, they've given it the name Eurabia, which says it all, and they have significant statistics to show this. This immigration, or emigration I should call it, and the countries that are most notably losing their population to Hungary right now are Germany and the Netherlands. So I think, folks, we've got somebody who's carrying the torch. They're the beacon of hope for us here in Canada. We are not immune, especially with the Prime Minister that we have at the moment, to this kind of a terrible outcome for our Western values, our Canadianism, if you could call it that. And up till now, I've been worried, very worried, as I know a lot of you are too, about where we're headed. But if we can manage to oust the Trudeau Liberals in October, and we can look to our neighbors to the south and to this tiny little country of less than 10 million people in Central Eastern Europe, that we should all be hopeful.